Have you ever wondered how people buy 5, 10, 15, 20 houses at a time? Maybe each of these houses are 30, 40, 50 grand in Ohio or some of these cheaper states. Well, folks, small loans are not profitable. However, you can get what's called a blanket loan. Somebody like Stephen Dow, in the video you are about to watch, we define what a blanket loan is. So again, if you are shopping in these markets and you want to buy 3, 4, 5 assets at one time, you can't get a bank loan, but you can get a blanket loan. In fact, I've done several blanket loans and they are awesome. Folks, take a view of a conversation from Stephen Dow and I. Have fun. Take care. Later. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. How you doing today? Michael Zuber, one rental at a time. And yes, we are in kind of a time warp. Today is Wednesday, but these will post Friday, which is not normal for one rental at a time, except when our experts say, Michael, I'm going to be busy on Friday, can record Monday or Wednesday to keep the ball rolling. So, Stephen, thank you for doing this.
I try to keep it consistent. Just following your lead, brother.
I appreciate it. Do me a favor, hit that marketing thing first, and then we'll talk about blanket loans.
Yes, sir. So again, I work happily for Velocity Mortgage Capital, although the topics and statements discussed on this channel are that of my own. Sorry. Just okay. For whatever reason, got to bring fire. Yeah.
Basically, you work for Velocity, but this is all Stephen.
Correct.
I love it. Hey, what I want to talk about today, we touched on at the very end of the first video, which is basically a business I'm doing with you, is the notion of blanket loans. I think some people call them portfolio loans. Is that fair? Yeah. So
correct. Tomato, tomato. It just depends on how you want to present. But yes, it means pretty much the same.
Yeah. But so this blanket loans, portfolio loans are kind of like unicorns to new investors. They get excited about them, but they never find them, right? Because they're going to a bank.
Right.
Banks don't cross collateralize. Banks don't get out of their comfort zone very often, very easily, and certainly not for new investors. Bank may make an exception for a multimillionaire. They might do it for someone like Mark Zuckerberg, right? Because the risk isn't there and they want them in their wealth clients. But for you and me, they're not doing those. However, non-QM lenders have their own money, right? You're publicly traded. Velocity Mortgage is publicly traded. And thus, you can react to the market. And blanket loans really were a missing link until non-QM lenders, because even hard money doesn't want to do blanket loans. They don't like cross-collateralizing, taking ins and outs and all of those things. So why don't you first define what it is, give a couple examples. And now we're not even doing blankets for houses. We're doing blankets for apartments potentially.
Right. So again, mainly just where you're looking to finance multiple properties under the same transaction. So it's helpful typically more so in lower markets where, each individual property that you're looking to get finance on wouldn't be able to stand on its own to meet the minimum loan requirements typically for that lender. So you can now group them together. So say you have at least 2 or more $50,000 value properties, then you could do them as a blanket to where the combination of the two would be a total value of 100,000, and our max LTV is 75% of 100,000 meets our minimum loan requirement. So that definitely helps. In addition to sometimes you just rather do multiple properties under one loan. You just pay one mortgage payment every month. Mm-hmm. There are other savings to it as well, to where I could structure, since we're closing multiple properties for the same borrower concurrently, we can then reduce some of their fees because it's the same borrower. I don't have to do too much extra paperwork, other than obviously, I shouldn't say that because I don't do the heavy lifting. My assistant's
Steven's not doing the paperwork.
Right. Oh yeah, it's super easy. Yeah. And then I'm like, I'm gonna kill you. You know what I mean? So it's a long story. They get paid the same for multiple properties on the same. Yeah, they don't like it when I do blanket loans, but it is what it is. We offer it, so we got to bring them in.
Yeah, and again, blanket loans are interesting because I think we're gonna have a moment in time where people may sell their entire portfolios. I remember a deal I did. It's probably been 2 years actually. I think this was 18.
Right.
I think it was 18. A guy called me. I bought one of his properties like a year before, and he's like, "Hey, I'm done." I think he was 67 or whatever. And he's like, I want to go. At the time he says, I want to go cruise every month the rest of my life. Right. I can't do these rentals. So I bought 2 fourplexes, a triplex, and 4 houses. Is that right? 4, 8, 12. Yeah, I did that. And at the time we structured seller financing, which was the way to go. But
Oh,
in
yeah.
theory, what I didn't know I had an option, right? I could have come to you and said, hey, if this guy wants more than 10% down,
Right.
let's come in and, give him his 30% or 40% cash. You're the
Right.
first and he's the second.
Right.
That could
Gives
have
you a little bit of
actually,
flexibility. You know what I
yeah,
mean? You can kind of accommodate given the circumstances.
I frankly could have paid less, because one of the reasons I paid what I paid is the fact that I structured a deal. I basically put 100K down.
I get it.
Where I could have,
Thought it was going to be right. I know.
I could have done a better deal if I said, you know what do you want? Because I was only willing to put 100K down, which meant I had to raise prices and payments and stuff.
Sure.
Where I could have said, if I come on with you, why don't I give you 50% now?
Right.
And then finance the other 50%. So
right, and then you would have gave you a better deal. Maybe. You never know. Hey, spilt milk.
It's an option,
okay.
right? I mean,
It's
these things I'm thinking about, right?
Right. But now you're aware, and this is why we do what we do, because a lot of that I get as well, where somebody calls me or contacts me, oh wow, this is great. I never knew that this was available. So it's really helping a lot of mom and pop investors, because now they're out there shopping, confidently, looking for deals.
Yeah, if you come across a seller who's wants to get out of everything, seller financing is obviously a great example if you can do it, but you've got to control down payment and payments. Some of them, I have a sneaky suspicion, are going to want a pretty sizable check day one.
Sure.
And for most of these people, these properties won't qualify for a bank loan. They're not at market rents. They're not updated.
Right.
It's going to be hard to do it. So reaching out to Velocity Mortgage and yourself or other non-QM lenders, really going to be the only option people have, I think.
Well, I'm actually working on a blanket loan right now for a 10 property portfolio for one of your viewers. I won't mention the name, but they just recently purchased the 10 and have slowly started to rehab them. And they just bought them this year. So we might be able to use the new higher appraised value right around they're about almost 6 months or more on the seasoning on the property, but they've done actual rehab, and he's, taken a lot of great paper trail and before and after pictures, things of that nature. So then we might be able to use the new higher appraised value now, even though he's owned it less than 12 months.
Wow.
On the full portfolio.
Yeah. That's the beauty of a non-QM lenders is you have, I call them guidelines versus rules, right? Banks have rules, right? They have a box. It's all automated. They don't think outside the box. Non-QM lenders, my opinion, they have guidelines, but they have compensating factors, and non-QM lenders are willing to listen to your story. Banks aren't.
Correct. It's either cookie cutter or basically like scone, like just lumps, whatever. It just works out and it just turns out good. So yeah, I agree with you.
So if you have one of those going on across the country, I suggest reaching out to Stephen from Velocity Mortgage. How do you want them to do that?
Email, please. Worth a phone call or email, because just getting the conversation started sometimes could save you a lot of time and money and headache, obviously. So don't mind at least discussing, your circumstances, even if it got to take an hour or two sometimes. By the time we usually get done, we really, really know what direction to take. And a lot of times people just want a sounding board because, they have certain strategies and they just want to make sure, am I thinking about this correctly? So I always try to, listen to the whole story and then give them my honest advice, and we pretty much go from there.
Yeah. Again, Stephen Dow at velocitymortgage.com. Put ORAT in the subject line. ORAAT stands for one rental at a time. So Stephen, thank you for all you do, buddy.
I appreciate you, brother.